And we are streaming. Welcome, everyone, to a later than usual, but on the same day episode of Down the Middle. Before we get into the WrestleMania results, I'm going to turn it over quickly to our guest co-host, Bryon. Would you please inform the viewers why Ben is unable to join us tonight?
Okay, about a week and a half ago, we took him to the hospital because he was not acting well. We then found out that he was having issues breathing, so they put him on a ventilator. And about a day or so later, they transferred him to IU Methodist. They were going to help him out a little bit better there. And it got a little rocky some days, and then other days he was doing good on himself. And then up till Friday, we didn't think he was going to make it. Come to find out, he was an organ donor, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. And Friday at 1:00 was going to be the last day of him. And as they were taking him off the ventilator, he started working his lungs started working completely fine by themselves. And they got a hold of my father and his sister, and they were like, "Hey, what do you guys want to do?" They're like, "Yeah, let's keep fighting it. If he wants to fight it, let's fight it." And that's what we're all praying for, is him just to fight it. I mean, that's not everything, but if you want to check out his page, his Facebook page, his sister is posting updates 2 and 3 times a day to give you everything that built up and led to what's right now. But right now, he's still at a 50-50, and we're all praying for him.
100%. Obviously, we hope he pulls through, but I'm sure all of us wish him a speedy and well recovery. But the thing about Ben is I know that if he had been able to talk to me, and if he was just in the hospital okay but couldn't leave yet, his first sentence to me would have been like, "I'm sorry, I can't be on the podcast." So thank you, Bryon, for being here tonight so we could carry on with the show. And
always here to help.
Yep. And I know for a fact it's what Ben would have wanted, because every time he's had to reschedule a show, he's always been very apologetic, and I'm always just like, dude, it's not a big deal. It's not a problem.
Yeah, stuff happens. Stuff comes up sometimes, and it sucks, but in all the end, it always comes out.
Well, without any further ado, let's get right into WrestleMania. First match of night 1 saw the defending SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Usos, defending their titles against the team of Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs. Now, if you watched our previous podcast, you know that Ben kind of talked me into this, but I agreed with him. We predicted that the Usos were actually going to lose these titles, with the caveat of them regaining them within a week or two. However, this match did not go quite as planned. But before we get into that, Bryon, what was your initial prediction before watching this match?
Here's my thing. Going into it, I felt like it was a little rushed with giving Shinsuke and Rick Boogs that match. And I was pretty sure the Usos were going to come out top, because my thing is since it's part of the bloodline, if the Usos lose, more than likely Roman's probably going to lose all in the same nights, and it's going to be the downfall of the bloodline all at one time. So going in, I really thought the Usos was going to win. Yeah, now, with Rick Boogs getting hurt, that was definitely unexpected.
Oh yeah, well, and Ben actually, the whole reason Ben convinced me that maybe the Usos were going to lose is so that it would have created a sense of dread for Roman's match on night 2.
And that was a good prediction too. Like that makes sense.
Yeah, and we actually don't know, because again, Rick Boogs, for those of you who didn't watch the match, Rick Boogs ended up tearing his quad muscle. So he's going to be out for 6 to 9 months. And yeah, that match was, I don't know. And it
was a little
well, and I try not to shit on the in-ring work, but a lot of these matches, I just felt like they weren't really WrestleMania matches, and this is one of them. It has nothing to do with the competitors, but it's like you said, the booking was rushed. It was kind of like, oh shit, we've got to defend the SmackDown tag team titles at WrestleMania. Quick, grab a team.
And that's true too. And there was a lot of good matches, but there was a lot of very few matches that were okay, but could have been better if they weren't rushed.
I will say, at least this was a pay-per-view match. I think there were about 3 or 4 matches that I was kind of like, this is a match that should be on Raw.
I can definitely agree with that one.
Yeah, at least this is like I'd say this one would have been a good match at like from a booking perspective. This would have been a good match for like one of the lesser pay-per-views, not one of the big 4. Maybe a SummerSlam match. Maybe at best.
Maybe, or even if they would have just built it up as a one-on-one match without the titles to build up for Backlash, the WrestleMania Backlash.
Right. But anyway, as you probably guessed, since Rick Boogs was injured mid-match, whether or not it was the original finish, the Usos ended up retaining their tag team championships. So, I mean, it wasn't a bad match, but it wasn't a great match. But that's to be expected. Yeah. It was less than 7 minutes long, and I have a sneaking suspicion that it had something to do with the injury.
I feel like it does too, obviously. Maybe it was booked for Shinsuke and Boogs to win, and the bookers were like, hey, Boogs is hurt. Why put the title and just let the Usos win? And they could have just changed up the finish for the Usos to keep it.
It seemed like that wasn't the original finish. It seemed like they had to kind of put something, and I will say they covered it really well. Because it didn't look like at no point was it like, oh shit, what do we do? It was like, which of course it's Shinsuke and the Usos. Like, they probably didn't even have to talk.
What's even more messed up is wasn't it like the SmackDown before this last one or the one before that same knee they had faked the injury.
Yep.
And then now, what kind of?
That's
rubbing it a little raw.
That's the wrestling gods punishing you.
That is completely true.
That's what you get for working an injury. That's gotta piss him off, though.
It would piss me off if you're gonna fix it so you're injured, and then you get injured on that same exact leg.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even it was a basic move. I don't remember what move it was, but it was just, I think it was just some basic.
They were too heavy. They were too heavy. Because what it was is he took, I forget whether it was Jimmy or he took one of the Usos up on a fireman's carry, then the other one. And this is why I was listening to Jim Cornette, and I had thought this already, and then when Jim went into it, I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. It was a stupid thing to do because it looked so phony. Because in order to have a guy on your shoulders already and to pick up another guy, he has to cooperate with you. It looked goofy. Because Boogs had to bend down, and the other Uso literally like leapfrogged on top of his brother. Which, why would you do that? And the Usos are not small guys. Like, Boogs is squatting over 400 pounds there.
Yeah, the Usos are like 250 maybe, 265 maybe.
They're at least 200, so we're talking a minimum of 400 pounds, and they started slipping, which I think is what caused the injury.
That's true. Yeah, I remember that now. They were slipping off.
Yeah, and he was trying to. And again, hindsight's 20/20. He should have just let him go, but he's trying to save the moment. I totally understand it. But the Usos are still SmackDown Tag Team Champions, and Boogs I would say he'd be missed, but I don't think that's true.
I like Boogs, but that's just me.
Well, and again, take this with a giant grain of salt because WWE television has been turning me off for like the past 3 years, so I watch it sparingly. So I haven't seen a ton of Boogs, and to me, it's just, I get that he's a likable guy, but to me, it's just kind of silly, and not in a not in an Orange Cassidy way. It's just kind of like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see what you're getting at right there.
That's just me. But moving on, this was the first match of WrestleMania where this isn't even a pay-per-view match. Like this was a Raw or SmackDown match, depending upon which show. But we saw Drew McIntyre in a singles match with Happy Corbin for some reason.
Oh goodness.
Now that being said, it wasn't a bad match at all. And we saw for the first time ever, at least on television, Drew McIntyre became the first person in history to kick out of the End of Days.
That is true.
That
true. I remember of. He is. I'm sure he is the only person. Now I don't remember in the NXT days.
I remember NXT because that's when I was hardcore. When Baron Corbin was in NXT, I was hardcore into NXT at that time, and nobody kicked out of End of Days.
Now I have a name for Baron Corbin, and I came up with it after he turned to corporate Corbin, and I would call him Trash Corbin because I hated corporate Corbin. But personally, everyone knew it. You knew Drew McIntyre was going to win.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a match.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was a match for WrestleMania. I don't think it was. Maybe if there was some kind of stipulation to it, maybe it would have been an okay match for WrestleMania, but it's definitely not a WrestleMania match. Definitely not at all.
And that's not to take anything away from Drew or I'm not going to call him Happy. Corbin. I'm not going to call him Happy, damn it. But it's and then who's that jerk off moron that's hanging around Corbin?
Oh, Madcap Moss.
Yeah, that fucking dork.
Oh. What I don't understand is you have Madcap Moss win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on SmackDown. And you would figure they'd use Madcap Moss to somehow try to distract Drew McIntyre, and it didn't really do anything that much. Not at all, really.
So I have two questions. Well, two observations. Firstly, his name is Madcap Moss. So already I'm not taking him seriously. And two, I thought WWE was going through a bunch of budget cuts, and yet he's essentially just a warm body every time I see him. He's just there.
That's true.
He's just there.
And you could almost say the same thing about Rick Boogs too, because 9 times out of 10, he's just there to play guitar and have fun.
Now that whole thing lets Pat McAfee jump on the desk and act like a moron, but people love it, so whatever. But yeah, I don't like. I was calling bullshit on the budget cuts because WWE's never been making any more money than they are now, and budget cuts.
They made more last. Yeah, they made more last year than I think they have ever, if I remember right.
Yeah, record profits. And I don't even know, man. Like, it just seemed like maybe somebody. I think they were honestly gearing up to sell at some point. Ben and I went over that numerous times. But
they may have a few rumors that they were going to sell maybe to Disney or maybe to I don't remember what the other one was, but they were I heard the rumors too that they were going to end up trying to sell it, which I don't know about that one.
Maybe they were, and the deal just fell through. And there were even talks that NBC was just going to outright buy it because they're already licensing it for Peacock. But
yeah, and I did see that too. I did see that one, but I don't know. I don't understand the budget cut things. Not to get off topic, just
no, it's not. They're not really budget cuts. It's an excuse.
Because really, The Fiend, you're gonna let somebody like that go away? Or, oh my goodness, there's just so many people that they got rid of that it's like, why? Like, they're main eventers, and you're gonna get rid of them?
Exactly. I don't know. They're just not making any sense. But anyway, Drew McIntyre defeated the dastardly Corbin and proceeded to cut 2 of the 3 ropes with his Claymore, which was a pretty cool spot. And I don't think the ropes were gimmicked at all.
I don't know, because if you watch it when he cuts the ropes, he didn't cut it in a spot where it ripped.
That's a good point. I did notice that.
And
so actually, I can't imagine they were gimmicked though, because they were running the ropes. I don't know.
Well, I don't know either, because if you watch after they're cut and they see the front view, you could see some kind of mechanism they had on the first and second rope that was maybe hooked to it somehow, and maybe there was some kind of quick release that jointed right through there to make it look like it was even. It released.
Yeah, maybe. Still looked cool.
And it did look cool. I liked it. It was something different. It's nothing I've ever seen.
It was interesting. But moving on. Now, this match... Oh, and by the way, Ben and I both predicted that Drew was going to win. Because, I mean, that was pretty well obvious.
Yeah, that was a pretty obvious thing.
Yeah. Next, I had predicted... I was correct in my prediction, but the circumstances were wrong. And we'll get into that. I also predicted that this match was going to be a stinker. And it wasn't. This was, we saw The Miz and Logan Paul team up against Rey and Dominic Mysterio. Logan Paul brought the thunder.
He did.
I was impressed.
So was I. I was very impressed. Now, my prediction going into it, I figured Rey and Dominic would win. Now, as I will say throughout this podcast, or whatever you want to call it, I have a few different ways that I thought it may have been booked on some matches. Now, I was waiting and I was expecting for finally to have a Rey or Dominic turn. I was waiting for Dominic to finally say, "Hey, look, Dad, I can do it by myself. I don't need you no more." And finally turn on his dad. And then at WWE Backlash, we would have that match between Dominic and Rey. But I was very unexpected.
Yeah,
I
had predicted that Miz and Paul would win, but I predicted that they were going to cheat to win.
Which they did, and it's very surprising.
I know, and Logan Paul was... and again, I'm not a worker, so I try not to comment on in-ring work, but what I noticed is he did seem a little tight, but overall, it was phenomenal.
Now, what I did read is that before WWE, he was doing some small stuff at any promotion in California or something like that, where he was already kind of working.
That would make sense.
I think is ready.
Yeah. Well, and again, so Logan Paul, love him or hate him, you can't deny he's a very athletic guy.
Very true. Very, very true.
And I love the fact that, and I had to actually, it was funny because I actually had to explain this to somebody who's not a wrestling fan, but I was like, holy shit, Logan Paul's wrestling at WrestleMania, and they're like, really? And so I had to explain, because I sent a quick video of him doing the Eddie shimmy and then the frog splash. And they were like, why is he dancing? And I'm like, oh, okay, this is a long story. So the match is going on and I'm literally having to explain the whole history of Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, and then even Dominic during that angle. And I was like, and then Eddie passed away in 2004, and Rey and a bunch of other people were super and now whenever you pay tribute to Eddie Guerrero, you do the Three Amigos, or you do the shimmy, or you do the frog splash, and Logan Paul is a heel. Now, a heel is a bad guy in wrestling, so his job is to piss people in the crowd off, and people love Eddie Guerrero. So for a heel to do that is gonna piss people off, and they're just like, what the fuck?
And another plus Another plus I've seen about him is most celebrities, when they come in, their faces.
Yes.
And like to put Logan Paul in there to be a heel, that's and he played it off perfectly. He played the heel part. He was there to piss you off.
So Logan Paul's already a heel, though. He already has a mastery of that game.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah, he's already got that down. Now, Logan, listen, man, I know you're rich already, but you might want to do WWE fans a favor and not necessarily change career paths, but maybe add that to your list of things that you do. Just
it could
thought.
be.
Like
he was really good. I really enjoyed Logan Paul.
Yeah,
now,
I did.
What I didn't expect, I did not expect the Miz to turn on Logan Paul like that. And it's like, are you going to build up a thing between Miz and Logan Paul? Or
I think so, and that's a match I want to see.
I'd be okay with it.
I'd be more than okay with it.
There's some stuff that we know now about what's going to happen on Raw with well, I won't spoil it just yet. I'll wait.
Fantastic. But as we've already said, The Miz and Logan Paul pulled out the win, but then after they were celebrating a little bit, The Miz gives Logan Paul a skull-crushing finale and lays him out, which, I mean, I enjoyed it, but it also didn't make a lot of sense, so it's whatever.
It didn't.
It wasn't odd enough to ruin it,
Yeah.
So our next match was one of the best matches of WrestleMania, and I would say the best. Well, yeah, I'd still say it's the best women's match of either night.
Oh yeah.
You could make the argument that this was the best match. It wasn't my favorite match, but it was really good. We had Bianca Belair challenging for the Raw Women's Championship, currently held by Becky Lynch, and now Ben and I both predicted that Bianca was going to win this, but that was based solely on how they were booking her.
Here's my thing, and this is going to trace back to the Raw before also. So Bianca cut. Oh man, I lost her name. Becky's hair. Thank you. She cut Becky's hair the Raw before. So what I thought was going to happen, I thought that we'd finally see the hair gone of Bianca. I felt like Becky would win, and I thought she would cut Bianca's hair after the match. They say, "Hey, you messed with my hair. I'm gonna cut your hair off because your hair is the one thing to you."
Could you imagine the anxiety of Bianca Belair in a hair versus hair match?
Oh my God!
This is one of the few times where I would like to see a hair versus hair match, because that would be legit, and like do a bunch of false finishes where you think Bianca's gonna lose. Oh, I'm telling you, that would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I thought Becky was gonna win. And I thought she was going to cut Bianca's hair at the end because Bianca cut her hair on Raw. And then I thought I was thinking they were going to book it to WrestleMania Backlash, and then finally have Bianca win because she's like, "Hey, you cut my hair. I'm coming for that belt, and I'm going to win it this time."
Yep. That wouldn't have been bad. Did you see, I don't know if this was, I'm not going to call it a botch. I think this was a miscalculation of distance. But Becky was doing a senton, and I think what was supposed to happen was Becky was supposed to, the way you would normally do one of these is Becky does the flip, and I think her butt was supposed to land like square on Bianca's upper chest, and they were supposed to both go down to the mat. But I think Bianca didn't get to her mark as fast as she was supposed to. And Becky's feet just, bam.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Her. I don't think Bianca got to where she needed to be because Becky's feet were where they needed to be,
right.
and she just I don't think she had lined herself enough for when that foot came down and smacked her in the face. And I was like, man,
That looked like it smarted,
wow.
but I will say she sold it properly. Like, well, I mean, I'm sure it hurt, but she didn't oversell it in a way that would have indicated a botch.
Yeah, or indicated she needed to finish the match.
Right. But no, I mean this match was really good, and Bianca. Not that Bianca, I never found Bianca Belair bad, but comparing that match with like her early days in NXT, you can see a lot of progress, and I don't mean that in any derogatory way. She's just gotten really, really good, and she's athletic as fuck.
Oh yeah, she's so good. Now, am I going to say she's going to be booked like a Charlotte Flair? Probably not.
No, no, I don't think so. But for at least for right now, the WWE universe loves her. So, I mean, milk that. And Becky's
Oh,
fine. Becky has reached a point where Becky's beyond a title. So,
yeah,
Becky and Charlotte are people, and arguably Sasha Banks. Those are all people where they don't really need a title, but if the title needs a little bit more prestige, you put it on them and they'll get the job done.
very true. I can agree with that one. Very true.
But spoiler alert, Bianca won and is the new Raw Women's Champion. But that was contender to be a best match of the night. It wasn't my personal favorite, but from a pure wrestling standpoint and the back and forth, like they had the crowd in the palm of their hands the whole time.
Definitely not my favorite match, but probably one of the best of the night, if not the best.
Yeah. Now, the next match was, in my humble opinion, but I'm right. This was the best match of WrestleMania. We saw I'm not even going to say that shit. Seth Rollins found out who his mystery opponent was. And here's the funny thing. So I called this shit to a T, even down to Cody's entrance. Because Ben and I were
really
both, yeah. Because Ben and I were both like, and I'm gonna put the clip up. I think I might have already put the clip up, but anyway, I said this in 2 back-to-back episodes. I said, listen, we're pretty sure it's gonna be Cody versus Seth at WrestleMania. I said, but if they're smart and if they can legally do it, what they need to do is you have Seth come out to the ring, and then he does his thing. Where's my opponent? Where's my opponent? All the lights go out, and then you hear wrestling has more than one royal family. And then it goes into Kingdom. And that's exactly what they did. Now I did say the only way they could have made that better was if they started with the old Stardust theme and then cut it.
that would have definitely threw people off.
Yeah.
Now, honestly, that's who I thought it was going to be too. Now, I did not 100% think it was going to be his old theme from the Kingdom. But here's my things. Let's go to the mystery opponent thing. My number one was going to be Cody Rhodes. That's the one I thought it was going to be. Now, here's another thing I was thinking, because I had seen some rumors and there was a post on Twitter by a person with the name Vacant, and then it was at WWE Vacant. And they had posted that it was 2 pictures of Seth Rollins. It was 2 pictures. It was Seth Rollins when he had his entry, and it was the picture displaying Seth Rollins versus mystery person. Well, and it said that they had taken his title before, and that they were coming to take his WrestleMania moment.
Oh my God.
And I sat there and thought, I was like, okay, so my number one person's Cody. And I'm like, okay, let's go back through history to see who's all beat Seth Rollins for the title. Well, Brock Lesnar's beat him. Well, Brock Lesnar's not going to be in that match because he's with Roman Reigns in night 2.
Right.
The other person was The Fiend. The Fiend has beat him.
Ooh.
And The Fiend was also in Dallas that night. One other person was Jon Moxley, or Dean Ambrose is another one that beat him. And around that time, there was a rumor that his contract was expired or expiring.
I think he's still got another. I think he's still got another month or two though. But yeah, like it would have been either one of those would have been cool too. Not gonna lie.
And there was one more. There's one more that he didn't technically beat him, but he faced him last before he had to relinquish the title because of his knee injury, and that is Kane.
That would have been a bit of a letdown, not going to lie.
I don't think it as a letdown because Kane hasn't really ever got his send-off match. I mean, DX versus the Brothers of Destruction, is that really a send-off match?
No, not at all.
No. So I was like, all right, I would be okay with Kane coming out and finally getting his send-off match. Here's your WrestleMania moment. Here could be quite possibly your final match ever. But it all boiled down to, then yeah, Cody was my number one person. But there was that other three other people that it could have been.
Yep, I can definitely see that. Fortunately, we got Cody, and they put on what I honestly believe was the best wrestling match of WrestleMania.
Yes. There's actually two that I think could have been it, and this one's tied, and I will get to the other one in a little bit because it's the main event of
the main event of night 1 or night 2?
Night 1.
Ooh.
In my opinion, we'll get to that one a little bit more when it gets to that point, but I'll tell you my reason why when it gets there.
Okay, that'll be interesting.
I knew that whoever came in to facing Seth Rollins, no matter who it was going to be the mystery person winning. You knew it was going to happen.
Well, and not for nothing, this was also the longest match of night 1, and it wasn't the longest match in WrestleMania, but it was the second longest match of either night.
Yeah, and honestly, that one is tied with my favorite match of WrestleMania. I really loved it. And then doing the cartwheel and the Stardust thing, you knew something was going to happen over Stardust.
Yeah, you had to acknowledge it, and I liked that better than doing the whole music trick I had suggested earlier because Cody got to do it.
Now that I'm thinking, there's one thing that I didn't really fully like. I think it was very unnecessary to do the Crossroads 3 times in a row.
Yeah, I agree. And Cody's done that before in AEW, obviously. But, I mean, and if you think about it, the Crossroads is... It's a really... Like, if you were to do it legitimately to somebody, like, that's a really hard-hitting move. I can't imagine it would ever take more than one.
Yeah, I think more than one really overdone it. I think they should have done one and done and sold it like that.
Like maybe 2 to make Seth look good, but not back to back.
No.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly there. But Cody won his return match, which again, Seth Rollins is another one of those guys where he didn't need to win this match because he's Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
You know, Seth Rollins can do no wrong.
Yeah, he's another one of them guys that doesn't have to hold a title to make himself known.
No. He's beyond that. Our next match, we saw Charlotte Flair defending her SmackDown Women's Championship against the winner of the Women's Royal Rumble, Ronda Rousey. The thing that I noticed throughout this entire match was I think Ronda wore some shorts that were a little too small. because she was adjusting them the entire match.
Here's my thing. Honestly, I figured Charlotte would win. That, in my opinion, was a big letdown to a match.
I agree.
And I don't know. I'm not sure if it was Ronda because she pushed so hard and so fast to come back from the pregnancy. But I think, in my opinion, that was one of my least favorite matches of the show.
And I honestly can't put my finger. I agree with you. I can't really put my finger on the why. I will say, and the reason I bring up Ronda's outfit, like, I'm not saying she was big or anything. I just honestly think I think her ring gear was a little too small because she spent the entire match and sometimes at the most inopportune times adjusting it. For example, and this is a wrestling pet peeve of mine, and I see a lot of people do it. It's way too common. Is you'll see somebody get rocked by a maneuver and go to the ground, and then they adjust their waistline. Like they go to adjust their gear.
It's like when you get rocked, when you get taken a move like that, or any kind of move, we were supposed to sell. Lay there and sell.
Yeah.
Now, if they're bringing you up, while you're getting up, you could pull them up. That would be fine. But like you take that bump or whatever, and then you're just laying there, kind of fixing your pants or your tights or whatever you want to call it. It's like you're not really selling.
You know what I will say, and I'm not saying he never did this. I can't recall a time where I've seen him do this. Was Shawn Michaels, because Shawn Michaels has definitely adjusted his gear, but I've never seen him do it at an inopportune time. Like when Shawn Michaels is selling, he's selling.
Oh yeah, he's selling.
He'll adjust his gear when he's up and moving around, and when it's presumably. But like Ronda, I remember there was one. I forget what the move it was. I think Charlotte kicked her in the face, and she stumbles back, and then she adjusts her tights or her trunks or whatever you want to call them.
I think that's what had happened. Is she took that kick, and then she adjusted it.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, it's almost as bad as that. And I don't know her name because I haven't watched NXT. I've watched one episode of NXT since it became 2.0. And I'll be honest, I threw up a little in my mouth. But the girl, the video was going around on TikTok. There's who's that new female wrestler who's like all the rage now? She does like she grabs the leg for an axe kick and then does like a split single leg drop.
Oh, Santino Marilla's daughter, Nikita.
Yeah, okay, so she did that to a girl, and the camera's looking right at this girl who's supposed to be unconscious, and she's just like, she's just bored.
She's like, can we finish this now?
I mean, that's what she said.
Honestly, I don't really watch NXT, but I still try to keep up with like the matches and who wins and who loses. But yeah, I can definitely agree with that one. Yeah, but that is Santino's daughter, Nikita.
Oh, interesting. But here's the thing. You know who uploaded that video onto TikTok, which is where I saw it the first time? It's on NXT's official TikTok. Why would you put that on there?
I'm gonna have to find that because I didn't know that. I followed the NXT one.
It's on there, I promise. Because I remember thinking like, this is funny, thinking it might have been like AEW botches or something. No, it's NXT. I'm like, oh God. But these are the same people who have a wrestler whose gimmick is that she naps a lot.
Oh God, yes. And that's a whole nother day for a subject.
One of these, Ben and I were planning on, and then he reminded me that we were doing our WrestleMania predictions. The last episode we did, he reminded me right before we started because I didn't have an idea of what to do. So I was like, okay, well, we're going to go over the things that annoy the shit out of us in wrestling.
Oh,
and she was on the list.
Oh gosh, we could do a whole movie about that.
Yeah, that'll be a long one when we do it. But Charlotte retained her title. Now, Ben and I had both picked Ronda to win because it seemed like just the way she came back so quick, it seemed like they were going to give her a title, but we were wrong. We got it wrong.
Now, yeah, that one I really thought Charlotte would win that one. I just think that one was a little rushed too, and I didn't think they built Ronda up enough for Ronda to win it yet.
I agree. Now, it did feel a little rushed, but I don't think I think Charlotte was always gonna retain. And so next, the next match was actually advertised as a talk show segment, but let's be real. The last segment of a WrestleMania is never going to be a talk show segment. Ever.
No, and if it was just going to be a talk show and it didn't come out the way it did, I think it would have been a huge letdown and a huge moment lost.
People would have thrown shit into the ring.
Oh, I guarantee it. Chairs flying, Coke bottles flying.
Yeah, so like Ben and I both agreed on this one. It's like, oh, it's totally going to be a match. Now, I can't speak to how good it's going to be, but anyway, special edition of the KO show with Stone Cold Steve Austin and Kevin Owens. Like, oh God, he's so good on the mic. But there was one line he gave that made me just guffaw laughing. When he's like, why wouldn't you move to Mexico? It's right there.
It
made me laugh so hard.
That was definitely a funny moment.
Like Kevin Owens is like I remember when I first became a fan of his, it was at the tail end of his Ring of Honor career. And at that point, he wasn't doing anything funny. And then he goes to NXT and does that whole angle with Sammy, and he's not funny. And then he gets with Jericho, and he's hilarious. Oh, goodness. And I'm like, holy shit, this guy's funnier than hell. But yeah, anytime Kevin Owens is given a promo, I'm all ears. Because if it's not funny, it's really good. And if it's not really intense, then it's funny. So he's kind of like Cena in that regard. Because Cena, like, whether you love him or hate him, you can't deny Cena's a hell of a promo.
He is. And he's definitely he's very...
Yeah. And he's also hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's very hilarious, too.
But...
Stone Cold... I figured this would be turned into...
Yeah, because Stone Cold wasn't having it.
Oh, yeah. He was there to take no shit. He was there for Texas. Now, did I think it was going to be a no-holds-barred? No. Never expected that one.
I think it had to be. To accommodate Steve Austin's needs, and I'm not cutting him down, but I think in order for it to be believable that Stone Cold, considering his age and his injuries, I think the only way Stone Cold is believably going to beat somebody like Kevin Owens is if it's a no-holds-barred match.
That's true, and honestly, this was my other favorite match of WrestleMania. If you got a guy in there in his late 50s, 20 years later from where he was, bumping around on a concrete taking suplexes and bumping around on the stage taking suplexes, you're one hell of a guy.
I was impressed.
And I was very impressed. Honestly, it was one of my favorite matches of the night between Cody and Seth, and then Austin and Kevin Owens was probably my two favorite matches of WrestleMania.
Crowd was eating that up.
And then obviously, I never expected. I expected, but I didn't expect the Kevin Owens to actually hit the stunner. I felt like he was going to try for it, and then Austin deny it and block it, and then give him his own. I really never expected him to give him a stunner.
I'm glad he did, though.
And it makes sense. I mean, that's Kevin Owens' move too.
Yeah.
I mean, he got the okay from him to it.
Yep, 100%.
But yeah,
anyway, yeah. So
my
obviously Stone Cold got the W. And again, Kevin Owens, another one of those, especially when the loss is to Stone Cold. But Kevin Owens, I would make the case, Kevin Owens doesn't really need a title. And he doesn't necessarily need to win every match that he's in either. He's set. He's good.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Kevin Owens is definitely one of them guys that doesn't need the title. And he doesn't always need to win also. I mean, he's top competitor, yeah. I don't even think he's maybe held the world title once, twice, I think.
I want to say twice, but I might be wrong.
I remember he won the Raw World title once from Seth. But I think he won it twice, but I don't remember who the second one would have been from.
I can't remember. Oh, didn't he win it from Finn Balor? No,
he lost. That was the first match for the Raw World title.
Correct. You're right. I was like, I know he wrestled Finn Balor, but I don't think he won it.
Then it may be just one time he won it.
Maybe. That being said, he needs to get that belt back sooner rather than later. But that was the end of night 1. Now I have a confession for night 2. It was a hell of a week, and honestly, most of these matches either bored me or pissed me off. So some of them I didn't even watch, and others I fast forwarded through. But we will.
Oh.
So the opening match of night 2, sorry, we saw the current Raw Tag Team Champions RK Bro against the Street Profits for some reason and the Alpha Academy for some reason. Gee, I wonder who's going to win this match.
Definitely not another WrestleMania match.
Not at all.
Here's what I thought. I was waiting finally for the Matt Riddle and Randy Orton turn. I was ready for Matt Riddle to finally turn on Orton this time.
Ooh,
and
that would
see
be good.
And see what Riddle could finally do as a heel instead of being the face.
I can't wait for them to do that because I hate what they've done to Matt Riddle.
I like it. It's very enjoyable. I think personally.
I think they took it too far. It'd be one thing to make him like a happy-go-lucky, just like whatever dude, but they've turned him into a 5-year-old. I think they just took it too far.
Now, honestly, with this match, I didn't know, honestly, who would win. Honestly, I didn't really care who won. So I really don't have a pick on who I thought was going to win that match. I just thought Matt Riddle was finally going to turn on Orton and say, hey, I don't need you no more. I basically learned all I need to learn. I'm the better one.
That's a program I would like to see. Now, I called RK Bro to win it based solely upon the 2 tag teams they were facing because the Alpha Academy is a comedy act and the Street Profits are just private party ordered from Wish.
Now, the Street Profits actually were wrestling before Private Party, I believe. So wouldn't that mean the Private Party got it from Street Profits?
Actually, no. I think that Private Party were a tag team before, but they were in HOG. They were in House of Glory. The Street Profits were on TV first.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense now.
Yeah, but and that being said, I think Private Party is a better team.
Better workers, yes.
That's what I mean.
On.
That's what I mean. And when I say that they're just Private Party ordered from Wish, I've never liked the Street Profits.
Really?
I can't put my finger on exactly why. I don't like their gimmick. I think they're overacting.
And they just, to me, like, I'm not saying they're bad workers, but they don't do anything in the ring that really stands out to me like Private Party does. Just as a comparison. They just kind of seem like a generic tag team to me. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I see it. I've never been like, oh, a Street Profits match. Yes.
Now, Chad Gable and Otis. I hate it. I really dislike it.
I
hate what they did with Otis. Hate it. I love the angle they did when it was Otis and Tucker and Mandy. I loved that angle. It was really enjoyable. And then they let Tucker go, and then they just put Chad and Otis together. It's like, why?
Yeah, and the thing is, I liked Chad Gable before the stupid Shorty G thing, and then I'm just like, oh god, what is with WWE taking like legit badass athletes and turning them into morons? Because they did it with Riddle, they did it with Chad Gable. They're probably gonna do it with what's his name, Gable Steveson. Yeah, they're probably gonna do.
God, yeah,
he's gonna be a badass for a month or two. And then he's gonna be the next Eugene.
I think they're going to push him like they did Mark Henry when Mark Henry first started WWE, when he was the Olympian with the singlet and the red, white, and blue and everything. I think that's how they're going to push him.
Yeah, and then what happened to Mark Henry?
Yeah, sexual chocolate.
You see? And like they did it with Kurt Angle too, but the difference is Kurt Angle's so damn funny that it worked.
Oh my god, yes. For some reason, for the love of God, it works for Kurt Angle. And it worked for Kurt Angle in a good way this time.
Yeah. Like Kurt could just make it work.
And like, was it Stevenson? Didn't he have a contract last year's WrestleMania?
Yes, he can't be an in-ring performer yet because he's still a collegiate athlete.
Yeah, but how long is it? Are they going to say he's a collegiate athlete before is it going to be another 3 years down the road before he does that, or
I don't know. They're going to wait till he doesn't. Well, I'll tell you this much: they're not stupid enough to take him away when he's winning NCAA titles.
Back-to-back years.
Yeah. But rest assured, they'll ruin his reputation as soon as he is a full-time WWE superstar. Just give it time. He'll lose to... They'll probably hire Marco Stunt just so that he can lose to Marco Stunt.
Probably. Or somebody like or be like somebody like Shark Boy or something. Book him for one night.
Something along... Or they might just put him in the ring with Johnny Knoxville. And have Johnny Knoxville win. But I'm not going to lie, I didn't even watch this match because every time I see Matt Riddle on screen, I just get depressed. And again, the Street Profits and Alpha Academy, I knew who was going to win this match before it even started.
Yeah.
You know, obviously RK Bro retained their titles and there wasn't a turn, so yeah, another certainly, and then the next match was also not a WrestleMania match. Now, I was wrong on my prediction of this, but I also didn't watch this match. We had Bobby Lashley against Omos. Now, I thought Omos was going to win, but apparently Bobby Lashley beat him.
Pardon me. Going into it, it was rumored for Bobby Lashley to come back because they weren't sure on his shoulder. Now, I wholeheartedly thought Bobby Lashley was going to win. I really, because I felt like they were finally going to give him that. They were going to push him again for the world title.
Oh wait, you know what?
Had,
you know what? I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure Ben and I said Bobby was going to win because we felt that Omos wasn't quite there yet. I can't remember, but now that you say that, I think we did think that Bobby was going to win.
felt like Bobby was going to win because they were going to try to push him again for that main event standard. Because I mean, the world title was kind of just taken from him in a way because of his shoulder.
Yeah. And because they'd already because they'd already booked Brock Lesnar for this match.
Now the match was okay for what it was booked for. What I like to say about Omos, he is almost a wrestler. Almost a wrestler.
Oh my God, I made that exact joke.
Did you really?
I did. Great. I did. Legit. I said, that's right. I said Bobby Lashley was going to win because Omos is almost a wrestler.
We got a fist bump through the screen like that one.
Right there.
I'll give you that one. Yeah, I thought I was the only person to do that too. That was so great. I said that about Omos for a while now. He's almost a wrestler.
He's close.
And
he's there.
I think they're trying to book Omos too fast to be the new Giant.
Right. Well, and I was going to say it helps when you're 7 feet tall, but yeah, he's not quite there yet.
When him and what is it, Commander Z, it is that Apollo's with.
Yeah.
They had a couple good matches. They had 2 matches that are pretty decent. Now that match, I think that would have been more of a WrestleMania match than the Bobby and Omos one, because it's like getting 2 giants together.
I was to say, yeah, at least you get the spectacle of it.
Yeah, like you get 2 giants together, and that's a WrestleMania match. Now, for what it was worth with Bobby Lashley and Bobby Lashley winning, who I thought was going to win, for how it was booked, I felt like it was fine. I liked it for what it was.
But again, this is a Raw main event.
Yeah, definitely.
But so the next match, I started watching it, and I was actually with them for a little bit. But we had, and I'm gonna be. This might be a little controversial, but if you're a wrestling fan, this match should infuriate you. Like, it should legitimately offend you and make you angry. We saw Johnny Knoxville against Sami Zayn in an Anything Goes match. Now, I was watching it and actually not hating it per se, not loving it at all, because, I mean, frankly, it was silly and stupid. I did like the start of the match where Sami just gave him a haluva kick. But then, and I can't remember, I think his name is Chris Pontius or whatever his name is, gets in the ring.
Let me turn around. Let me take a second to collect my thoughts on that one. Why you disgrace Johnny Knoxville and Jackass on that one? Let me think a bit. Are you crazy? That was a great match. It was so funny.
It's
my goodness.
It's WrestleMania.
And it was honestly, and for people that probably don't know, Shane Helms, which is Hurricane, actually is the one that booked that match. He's the one that produced that match, which is obviously a match you can see him producing. I really liked it.
Well, I didn't.
Honestly,
I didn't.
It was really fun.
I didn't finish it because of the moment that I'm going to get into. I started. What's his name? Chris Pontius or the guy who does the party boy thing from Jackass.
Yeah, that is Chris Pontius.
Yeah, when he did that, I went, "Oh fuck, no."
Now,
and then Sami Zayn lost.
You knew that was going to happen. Now, you knew.
No, I actually predicted Sami would win, but
I really thought Johnny Knoxville was going to win. Now, the finish on how it was booked was kind of sloppy, not really sloppy, but it didn't work out the way it was supposed to. Have you seen the finish?
Nope, and I'm going to tell you why, though, even though I haven't seen the finish, because Johnny Knoxville isn't a fucking wrestler.
Now, I'll go ahead and tell you the finish. So there was a giant mousetrap that was brought into the ring. And Sami was laid on it, and they were going to pull the string for it to slap on top of him. Well, when they pulled the string, it broke off. So Johnny had to go over and press the button for it to sling over and smack him. Now, what I would rather seen, I would have rather seen Johnny go to cover him, and then everybody go on top of Johnny.
Yeah, that would have been a lot better.
Like Preston, that would have been a perfect person to get on top. Like Preston's the big guy. Why not? That gives Johnny the more advantage from it.
I would have actually been okay with that finish. As absurd as this thing was, at least it would have made sense. But for them to, and I know Sammy would disagree, but to me it just seems like they're shitting on Sammy because who's going to be there on Monday? Using the old CM Punk logic.
True.
I thought Johnny Knoxville being in the Royal Rumble I thought it was dumb, but it was okay because it's the Royal Rumble, you know? And they're plugging the movie, but the movie's already been out. Why is he at WrestleMania?
True. What I had seen a tweet from Sammy about a week ago or so, or a couple days ago, that Sammy said that was one of his favorite matches or his favorite match of all time.
Yeah, and and you know, and other things that are bullshit on the surface, but he was paid to say. You know, come on, really? We all know that Sammy's
That number that was put up by Johnny was an actual number to Sami Zayn. I tried to call it, and it would just go to the voicemail that said it was Sami Zayn. Like, it would ring and everything.
Yeah, it was.
It would just call.
It was probably just a number set up by. It was probably just a number set up by WWE, and they had Sammy record something for it. But
yeah.
God. So I thought that whole thing was tremendously stupid, and I'm glad I didn't waste 14 minutes, 25 seconds of my life that I would have never gotten back.
And, you know, I know Ben, and he would have liked it too because he loves watching Jackass.
Oh,
now, one thing I did not expect, and I did not expect Pontius to actually get into full party boy mode. I felt like they wouldn't have liked it for him being in a thong, because I'd seen something where the producers threw a fit about Austin wanting to give the middle fingers. I mean, obviously he did it anyways, because that's Austin. But I figured they were like, oh, it's not PG enough, but they did it anyways, which I really liked.
Anyway, now the next match, and before we get into this, I will say, normally, and I can't think of one that I actually liked, I hate 3- and 4-way tags where they have 2 people in the ring at one time. I hate those matches. But this one was really, really good. We saw the team of Sasha Banks and Naomi against the current WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Carmella and Queen Zelina, also taking on Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, along with Natalya and Shayna Baszler. This match was really, really good. And I remember when I saw that it was 4 teams, I rolled my eyes. I was about ready to skip it, actually, and I'm like, you know what? I'm a fan of a lot of them, so I'm going to give this a shot. And it was really, really good. I have no complaints.
It was really good. It was really good for what it was. And who I had booked to win, honestly, I didn't know who I think would win. I was going to, my favorite to pick was I was picking for Liv and Rhea because I like them both. That was my pick to win because that's who I liked. Now, this is another one of the matches where I thought there could have possibly been a turn. I felt like they may have broken up Queen Zelina and Carmella, because if you watch the past couple, SmackDown, the past couple Raws, Carmella's been too much into Corey Graves, and Zelina was getting upset with it.
Yeah, which that's a mystery.
So I was really expecting a turn there too, because I'm like, all right, she's getting pissed off because of Carmella. Why? That's the perfect time to finally split them up. And the rest of the tag teams in the match were rushed.
Right.
But for what it was great. It was good. I liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was a great match. I was entertained the whole time, and there were a couple of moments where they weren't botches; they were just really hard-hitting moves. I was thoroughly entertained and enjoyed myself the entire time.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. And it was sometimes it was kind of hard because there was so many women at one time around the ring. It's kind of hard to get everybody worked in at least once.
Yeah, that's true. But in the like, as far as this type of match goes, it's probably the best of this type of match that I've ever seen. Because I usually hate them, like I really hate them. But anyway, we do have new women's tag team champions in the form of Sasha Banks and Naomi. Which I thought the finish of the match was awesome. That combo move that they did was phenomenal.
Was great, yes. I really liked that finish that match too. And honestly, I didn't expect for Sasha and Naomi to win. I really didn't.
No, I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be Liv and Rhea.
Because it was all so rushed. I'm like, well, they're either going to retain it, or they would have went with my pick. And I'm like, well, Liv and Rhea makes sense.
Yeah.
Like they both kind of almost have that same style and gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
I think it just would have fit with them.
Yep, I agree. But I'm not disappointed with the pick. It was just unexpected. Alrighty, moving right along. Next, we had a singles match between Edge and AJ Styles, which was phenomenal, but not surprising. I mean, look who it is.
Now, look at the botch just at the beginning. AJ comes out and smacks his head off the fucking stage. I'm sitting there wondering why his face is bleeding. I'm like, what the hell did he do? And then I'd seen some footage from somebody else later that night where he'd smacked his face off the stage, and like he played it off good. He just kind of just wiped it off and wiped it off and wiped it off and wiped it off. And I'm like, oh goodness. I'm like, they're already going to try to band-aid him up.
Yep. Now, the one thing, and again, this isn't, I understand, this is one of those things where it's not even a criticism, it's an observation, because I know why they do it this way. It's just for safety. But it made it obvious to me. AJ goes for the forearm, but he doesn't cock the forearm. He just has his hands in the air. Which is like, oh, Edge is going to spear him. And sure enough, Edge speared him.
Yeah.
So there's no real way around that if you're going to be safe about it, which I would much rather than be safe. But yeah, that being said, it was a cool-ass spear.
Yes, it was. Now let me get to the end of the match real quick. Now, before WrestleMania, the Raw before WrestleMania, I'd seen a rumor that was with what was it, Fightful Select, I think that's what it was, that there was going to be a new stable made with Edge. That was a rumor. And they thought it would be Damian Priest. And I'm like, well, that makes sense. And then I'd seen that Ray Ripley may join it also, which could work too. And then as you obviously seen at the end, Damian Priest shows up, which gives Edge the advantage, and he takes the W, that's who I thought was going to win too, just because Edge's new gimmick, I think they wanted to really give a push off of that.
Yep.
To give him that win. They really kind of get that new character evolved.
Yep, I agree wholeheartedly. I can't remember who I picked to win. I think I might have left. No, because I didn't want to leave anything up in the air. I can't remember who I picked. Somebody remind me in the I wasn't surprised that Edge won, but I wouldn't have been surprised if AJ won. But I want to say I probably thought Edge was going to win. Because that would,
I
it would
wasn't
make more
surprised
sense.
either way. I wasn't surprised either way, and I would have been okay with either one of them to win too.
Yeah.
And just I really thought Edge was going to win off of this new character, really give it a push with him because I mean, his character, man. It's like another Seth Rollins because when he first started that new gimmick, it really made me think of Seth a lot.
A little bit darker, but yeah, I see a lot of similarities. Although nothing beats like 06, 07 Edge to me. Just like
no, the rated R.
The peak of the rated R superstars. Oh, and then the rated RKO stuff. It's just such good shit.
He really hated that belt. The spinner. He hated it. I watched a video not too long ago. And he hated that belt. That was completely out of what he was wanting.
Oh God. But anyway, carrying on, in what was by far the shortest match of the evening, which, thank God, if only the Knoxville Sammy match had been this short, we saw Sheamus and Ridge Holland, along with Pete Dunne, because I'm not calling him Butch.
Yeah, fuck Butch. We like Pete Dunne.
Yeah, fuck Butch. Anyway, they took on the New Day. And Sheamus and Ridge Holland won. I can't really I watched this match, but I kind of half-assed watched this match because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't care. What's that?
That match was actually supposed to be one. Yeah, it was booked for night one, and I think they didn't have enough time. And now I don't know what match it was booked for, where it was booked in the show, but that match was booked for night one, and it was cut.
Well, they should have just cut it because it was, again, not a WrestleMania match. Why was this happening?
I'd rather see the U.S. title or the Intercontinental title on the line. Hell, I don't even care if you put the Intercontinental and the U.S. champion against each other.
Yeah, have another title unification match.
They both don't mean nothing right now.
Oh, exactly. They got the title off Sammy so that he could fight Johnny Knoxville at WrestleMania.
They never should have let him win it if that was the case.
I know. It's just... Anyway, that wasn't even a 2-minute long match, thank God. So the next match...
That was one of the matches I didn't really care who won.
Yeah, I just get this off my TV. But the next match, another surprise, which, I mean... I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but I didn't watch the match he had in NXT, so I was surprised. We saw Pat McAfee against Austin Theory. Before we get into the match, is nobody going to talk about how Austin Theory just stole Tyler Breeze's gimmick?
Yeah.
Are we just not going to talk about it? And Tyler Breeze did it a million times better.
Oh yeah, definitely with the selfie stick. It was so much better. I mean,
Austin Theory, and I know they're doing it on purpose because I actually like Austin Theory as a worker, but his character right now, I know he's that smarmy fucking just prick, but they're not doing him any favors because they're making him look like an idiot.
Yes.
And not in a comedic, fun way that he can get out of. I don't know. It's you know who does shit like that? Who constantly takes selfies? Fucking teenage girls. And that's what he's acting like.
Yeah. Next he'll be having a Starbucks coffee with him.
Yeah, next he'll have he you know what he should do? This would actually be quite funny. Is if he got a real Burberry scarf and started wearing it down to the ring?
Oh my goodness, yes.
I'm sorry, I would laugh at that. I would find that hysterically funny. But anyway, Pat McAfee won. Good match.
It was very solid for what it was.
Very solid. And that senton, holy shit, that was awesome. And I mean, like, make no mistake, Austin Theory's good in the ring. Like, I like watching him work. And Pat McAfee was solid. Yeah. The whole thing made sense. I think that bit with Vince went on way too long.
I think it did too. And then we all got to talk about the botch of the night.
So, like, this was a mixed bag for me. Because I'm a fan of people overselling for the stunner, but people like The Rock and people like Razors is one of my favorites. But Austin just took it a touch too far, in my opinion.
I mean, I hear you're not the only person I've heard say that. I felt like it was fine. In my opinion, I really do. And like,
it wasn't going to ruin my night. But to me, it just seemed like a little too much. But it was better than Vince's.
What I think it happened, what it looked like when he kicked him in the gut, he hit him in the nuts, which kind of like staggered him in a way. That's what it looked like.
It did look like he legitimately lost his balance, and thank goodness the rope was there.
Oh my goodness! I was waiting for a double ACL tear again.
Oh, that would have been so bad.
Yeah, imagine that at 70-something years old, get a double ACL tear.
Yeah, no.
But for what it was, you knew if he would come in and do what he did and face Pat McAfee, like punting the football as the finish, really, I would have more expected Austin to get involved and do the dirty work for Vince the whole match, and then Vince basically smack him around a little bit and take the pin or give him the pin.
Right, and I did love the fact that Stone Cold stunned McAfee too, which I understand. Don't get me wrong, I understand why. Like, obviously, who wouldn't want to take a stunner? But in kayfabe logic, why would you get in the ring? You know what Austin does. Like, you know you're going to get stunned.
And then I seen, and I think it was a picture or it was actually in the show. He was laying on the outside next to the commentators, taking a beer and taking a drink of it, laying bumped on the outside.
Yeah, which again, that's a moment where, like, again, I understand why he did it, but it takes you out of the, everybody knows it's not real. Everybody knows that it's staged, but it was
something a little unnecessary.
Like, come on, kayfabe to an extent, like when the camera's on.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that brings us to the main event, and I took a little bit of issue with them saying that this was the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, because I'm sorry, it's not even close.
It was good for what the storyline drove.
Oh, no, it was a great match. I'm not disputing that, but to say it's the greatest WrestleMania match of all time, no.
It's the same match we've seen 7 other times.
Yeah, and I hated the finish.
Now, he was legitimately hurt, though, from that.
Oh, was he really?
There's pictures, yeah. And I'll send them to you later. But there's pictures on Twitter of his arm. You can see where it looked like he tore something in his arm.
Oh, see, I thought he was just selling really well, huh?
No, and I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you personally later, and maybe you can fit it in somehow. But yeah, he really did something to his arm.